Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here again talking about rabbits, and today we're going to talk about adequate ventilation for your rabbitry. One of the most important aspects of building rabbit housing is ventilation. They need it. They're better off with more ventilation and less shelter than less ventilation and more shelter. Never ever shut your rabbits up in an area that has no ventilation. It will kill them. The ammonia from their urine will build up like crazy and they will die. So don't ever lock them up without ventilation. If there isn't adequate ventilation, they're going to get sick and die. That's just the way it is. They need airflow for optimum health, and they'll be happier if they can breathe freely. Like these guys, they would rather have the cold. Slate's out there sitting in the snow. He loves the snow. There he is. He loves the snow. And he'd rather sit in the snow than not be able to breathe. So take a little time and think about ventilation before you set up your rabbit housing. Wire cages obviously have a lot of ventilation. This has a ton of ventilation. This is what we do. You cannot say we don't have ventilation. We use dog houses. Hi, Loki. We use dog houses and kennels. Literally, that's what we do. You can see there's plenty of ventilation here. Okay? So they need shelter from the wind, definitely. They need to be able to stay dry. That's why all of the dog houses that we have are raised off the ground by a couple inches, so they're never sitting in water, because you want your buns to be able to stay dry. But you definitely need ventilation, okay? Doesn't matter how dry and out of the wind they are if they can't breathe. So typically, even if you're using wire cages, yeah, wire cages are great for ventilation, but typically you put them inside a barn or a shed. What do you do if you're inside a building? Because I will freely admit that most of you are going to have your rabbits inside a building. Hi, goats. Ignore the loud goat. She's mad that I didn't give her another pumpkin. You're all pumpkined out, baby. Well, you're done eating pumpkins. That's enough. You have all the pumpkins you need and you're covered in hay. Your daughter's eating hay off your back. Anyway, so typically you have your rabbits in sheds, barns, other kinds of outbuildings. You might have them in something like this, something like that. That's most likely. A prefabricated shed like one of these, this is what these are, make great rabbitries, but they don't have a lot of ventilation. So what can you do? You need venting. So what we do, ventilation for chickens and rabbits is very similar, so I can just show you what we did over here, because obviously for our rabbits, we don't have a problem. We have these winter windows here, not winter windows, just windows. They're just windows, and they're open all the time. Doesn't matter, minus 40, whatever, they have to be open. The animals need ventilation. Ventilation needs for rabbits, for chickens, for goats, for horses, they need ventilation. We also have these vents up here. So we have windows across from each other. There's a window on the other side, lined up with that one, so we can get a cross breeze going there. And we have this vent. And then I'm just going to walk back this way. And we have that vent. We have a horse back there. We also have a vent. We have air vents on that building too. You need those air vents. You need plenty of ventilation. So try to get the vents across from each other if you're using a shed or other kind of... Hi, Lily. That's enough. Thank you. But try to get the vents placed across from each other so you can get a cross breeze, but try to raise them up. You don't want the breezes right on your rabbits. Again, they have to be able to get out of the wind. So you want air movement, you don't want them to be windy. So get them out of the wind by raising your vents up. Don't put vents down at ground level. Loki's back in her house and these boys are over here. So always make sure the vents are higher than your rabbits. You don't want the breeze blowing directly on them in the winter, but even in winter, you need ventilation. This here is a better idea than having them locked up in a tiny little cage, okay? Because they have plenty of ventilation here. I'm just traipsing through the snow because Slate's over here. Plenty of ventilation. There's Slate. He's having a fine old time. He's eating snow. He's got hay. He's got pellets. He's fine. He has got plenty of ventilation. If you're having trouble getting air to move, however, what you might want to consider is fans. Add fans to your rabbitry if you need to. You can get solar powered fans if you don't have electricity in your rabbitry. In fact, I'm going to add a couple of solar powered fans when we move in the spring, just because we're going to put them in some interesting locations on the new property, and I want to make sure air is moving. So get a couple of solar powered fans if you have to. Don't aim the fans directly at your rabbits. They like the ventilation but not strong winds. If it's summertime, point the fans directly at your rabbits, because then they'll be able to cool down. I almost fell in the snow. But that's what you need to take into account. Ventilation, whether it's summer or winter. A lot of times in the winter, people think they don't need the ventilation. They'd rather shut them up and keep them warm. Lack of ventilation is way more dangerous than the cold. These guys can handle 40 below. They can't handle being stuffy. So get ventilation going in your rabbitry, even in the winter. It's really important. That's about it for us here at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.